Islam family, peace and love. I want to share a few experiences today, basically dealing with right to travel. So, I have testimonials myself, but I haven't for the longest really wanted to really get out there and tell them because I'm really waiting on other people that have other testimonies that'll work with me because it's actually a whole lot of people that have real good testimonies that just don't want to get on camera. And I got a few people lined up that I'm about to interview actually to get them on so that they can tell their experiences traveling with the nationality card, how it happens and things of that sort. But I do want to point out some of the things that people really been missing, in their process when dealing with right to travel. So, it's a few basic things you want to really master first when you get in the right to travel. So part of that is just the conversation. So you need to be familiar with all of the wording that goes along, the drive versus travel, things of that sort, of course. But also at the same time, you need to learn how to shut the up when dealing with these people and learn when to plead the fifth. So, in my experiences, I've been stopped, several times over the last 5 years with only nationality card. And you know what I do the best is to let the documents speak for themselves, and we can get into the documents as well because your nationality card, your ID, that is one, but it's also another one that a lot of people are missing. So when dealing in right to travel, most people don't want to have the insurance. So there's a private way of going about that too. See, so what you have to do, and I discovered this, really, it's on the DMV website, but basically every state has a bond amount that you can either buy a bond or you can write your own bond for. It's between, I want to say, about 30,000 ish and 75,000. But when you understand discharge, that amount really doesn't matter. So it's just putting that bond together, writing it up so that you'll be able to take care of what they call financial responsibility. The financial responsibility is the insurance in a sense, but when you do it in a bond form, you don't have to come up off that monthly fiat like you do when you paying for auto insurance in general. Now, when you have that knocked out, one of the biggest issues with the sovereign citizen community when they're dealing with right to travel is they don't have nationality cards like we do. So with as Moors, with our nationality cards, that's already something that's going to put us a step ahead, because when you get pulled over, they're looking for a couple basic things, two basic things really, but it depends on how much of an asshole they want to be. So basically, you want to have your ID and your financial responsibility. Those are the two main things that they're going to be looking for pertaining to any stop. So as long as you have those two together and you haven't done what's called causing extreme public safety hazard, then there's really no reason for them to be writing you a ticket or taking you to jail. There's really even no reason for them to stop you unless you've done something to really cause a red flag, because if you haven't created extreme public safety hazard, then it's nothing that they have to talk to you about. Now, they could be coming at you about something statutory like your tag or something is out, expired, paper plates expired or something like that. That's not really anything that's cause for a stop. So when you're doing your prep work for right to travel, that's where you take care of that for the most part. So there are different strategies that people like to use when dealing with right to travel. Mine is first the injunction, which an injunction is basically a restraining order to put a stop to what may be happening that may be violation of rights. So you're putting them on notice, and also affidavit of right to travel can go with this, but you want to inform the elected sheriff basically of what you have going on, and even put him in a default. So in our package we have examples of this, templates, and then even the templates of how to beat the case after the fact. So I've been to court over expired tags, no driver's license, blah blah blah, you name it, no insurance, just because dude wanted to be a dickhead for the day. But I wrote what's called an affidavit of private contract, basically stating that the injunction that I had with the sheriff, yeah, that's my private contract, and the simple fact that this guy stopped me in the first place is a breach of contract, and his ticket, yeah, y'all need to dismiss this, or you can go into my fee schedule and pay me for this stop. So needless to say, they didn't want to pay me, so they dismissed the case. And it wasn't just dismissal per se. So I had already went to file my affidavit of private contract. They reset the case. So somewhere in between then and when I showed up for the next court date, they had already dismissed it. So I go up there, trying to, hey, look, I got my motion to dismiss. I'm going to, clear this out right now because I hadn't heard anything back from them. But lady was like, hey, we don't see your case in here. She got to type it in, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't find my name, my case, or anything like that there. And it was all under my national name. This was not under my straw man. But she had to call basically one of her supervisors. So the supervisor come and say, hey, type it in. It's dismissed. So, all right. Can I get a copy, any kind of record, just to show me that it's been dismissed? And she told me like flat out, no, we can't do that. But what you can do is go look it up online. Now, in particular, I know out here you can look up cases online. I do that very often. And it was not just, my first time for me or anything. I look up cases for other people all the time. So I had already seen my case online. So it wasn't weird, too much when she said, oh, okay, I can't print it out, but you can go get it off the internet. So I was like, okay, I'll go do that. I'll go print it out. And when I went and looked online, and even still to this day, it's no longer there. Like they struck it from the record totally. Like they knocked that case out so as if it never even existed. So that was the power of my injunction and then my private affidavit. So that's like that prep work I was saying, getting your documentation together in the first place. You want to have your injunction on file. You want to get your bond. So while you're traveling, with your nationality card, if you ever stop, these are the two main things you have. So, with that being said, I've been stopped between Texas and Tennessee, over these last 4 or 5 years. I got stopped coming into Memphis, coming out of Nashville, basically. I think it's I-40. Rental car, Texas plates, out of town. They like, oh, this the dope route and blah, blah, blah. And, trying to be real scary, like, had my whole family with me, my consort, my wife sitting in the passenger seat, daughters in the back. They're telling me, hey, we're going to have to, take you to jail, fingerprint you and all of this to make sure that we can properly identify you because this nationality card you have is no good, basically. So they took it to the car, after doing all this smack talking and doing all of this discourse. They had actually seen my consort's driver's license. She was scared, so showed it to him. She hadn't got rid of hers, so it was there, and but they kind of dismissed it and focused in on me. So when they got back, it was a whole change of story. It was more like, hey, you can't do that here. Like, we know y'all have, freeways that have 85 on them out there in Texas. There's nothing like that in Tennessee. You have to slow down. Please slow down on your way out of this state. Basically. So I didn't get pulled back over, because I was doing 90 and, like 75 or something like that. I was trying to get home. So, I had to basically point out to my consort, and let her know, like, look, these people, one, they had on almost plain clothes with just the badge, so they're a little bit more than just the regular police. So with that, if it would have been anything unlawful with what I was doing, if it was unlawful for me to pull off in this vehicle, they would have told you, hey, you with the driver's license, get over into the driver's seat and you switch, and then y'all can go, so then there's no problem. So they wouldn't be doing anything or allowing anything unlawful. And I had to point that out, so that goes to show that, all over, they know what's going on, and there's definitely ways of doing things privately. It's just about knowing how to have the conversation, with these people and having your documents up front as well. So in dealing with the conversation, basically you want to give them your nationality card, and they're going to ask for a driver's license, of course. So the best thing you can do is, hey, I don't have a driver's license. This is my ID, and my bond or my financial responsibility. Hand it to them, and let them go run it. Don't try and talk law or this or that. Anything comes up, if they ask questions, you do want to be civil and answer their questions, but they're most likely going to try and pull you into jurisdiction. So that's the part that you want to avoid and even plead the fifth. You don't want to give them too much to get you to pull yourself back into jurisdiction. So example out here, I gave one brother that had stopped me my nationality card. Okay, I understand, we've seen stuff like this before, but have you ever had a driver's license before? Like he was telling me that, basically trying to pull me back into jurisdiction. When he asked me that question, he's trying to say, hey, have you ever had any state ID, driver's license, or whatever, so that he could go look for an instrument to say that I was in his jurisdiction. And I pled the fifth. I plead the fifth, because I understand while operating in the private, there's no need to tell them or even mention anything public, because as long as you're not doing anything, like I said, that is what they call extreme public safety hazard, if you're not, swerving back and forth, causing, commotion, or speeding what's over 25 miles over the speed limit, which is technically considered flagrant and could be an arrestable offense. But it's those certain things that give them jurisdiction, only for that, or if you're like, shooting out the window at somebody, something that's causing harm. So as long as you're staying in honor for the most part, you're acting in your private capacity, there's really not much that they can say. But, from time to time, like I say, you run into a dickhead and you have to handle that. And that's why you want to have your paperwork set up beforehand. So as you're managing that conversation, it's not really an issue. So I don't try and argue law. That's one of my main things with them. Like, they say, well, you need a driver's license or something like that there. Well, that's one that I do respond to. I'll say, look, and, this is absolutely true, but I'll tell them, hey, the Supreme Court has actually ruled different. Now, I understand you don't know anything about law, that's not your profession, but I'm willing to handle it with the judge if necessary. If you have to write me a ticket or anything like that, it's not a problem, But basically, you're just trying to get them to let you go. So it's a fact of, hey, if you don't have anything, that's arrestable, let me go. So if it's a ticket, I'm fine with that, And really, even if it is to that extreme where they're going to take you down, you don't want to fight that, because you can beat it on the back end. And I haven't had that issue. I don't even really know many more that have had that issue ever, except for a few here and there that had a different nationality card than the one we issue. So in my experience and the experience that most of the Moors that I know, it's been the same, and I've had other Moors that were brand new that wasn't even into all of the law like that had instances where, they dealt with the policy enforcer, gave them the nationality card, and they pretty much like gave it right back and was like, yeah, just have a great day, don't do whatever you was doing. And I've had that experience too, but the reason I haven't came out like this so much is because I understand that since I am one of these guys that's doing the most out here, in this movement, my testimony from some is like, so I got other people coming up, people gonna doubt me and think I'm lying and all of this here. I get that all the time. I have no problem with that, because I know what I do works, and anybody that actually knows law, listening to this, they'll understand and be able to relate, whether or not they've actually experienced it or not for themselves. So, when you knock out all these things, like mentioned, and you have all your strategy together from the beginning, it's really a way to avoid all the headaches that come with traveling. Because when you travel in your private capacity, you're operating in a way that they might not understand totally. So you have to give them the benefit of the doubt that they might not know because they're not trained on that. So having all your paperwork and things lined up, it makes it look like, oh, okay, this person may know the law, they may know what they're doing, even though they in their mind like, what's going on? So they have certain officers or policy enforcers that are trained specifically to deal with what they call sovereign citizens and all of that there. So when dealing with these people, you have to understand that they know that with sovereign citizens or Moorish Americans or, whatever the person claiming their right to travel may be, claiming their status is, they know there are certain one of these people or certain types of these people that are extremely violent and going to shoot first and, be on some crazy mess. And then they know some of us are just trying to get from point A to point B, and, they don't know at first. So you have to basically, with your tone, with your documentation, and with putting them on notice beforehand, let them know, hey, you're defusing the situation, before anything even considers jumping off. Now, there is nothing you can do if they just want to kill you. I can't, give any remedy recourse for that. But anything outside of that, we know how to deal with in law. So I can show people how to operate, on the road. I could help people operate, in the courtroom. But, if you are provoking and arguing and belligerent, doing things like that with these policy enforcers that's just trying to tip them off, it's not really much that we can do about that, because when you're an honor at all costs, the prophet says, look, you speak to them in an intelligent tone, you'll get a favorable reply, and that's been my experience for the most part, dealing with travel or dealing with the courts or, the system in general, so you got to be cool, you got to be smooth. It's not about being, debative, combative and things of that sort. That's the stuff that has them on alert, so where they reaching for they pistol or something like that and calling for backup and all of these type of things, the stuff you don't want. So outside of doing that kind of stuff, you'll run into experiences that are a little bit different. The way my consort said it the last time we got stopped, which was actually like a week or so ago, because I'm in a new county and I hadn't put them on notice quite yet. She was like, well, they don't mess with you because you're cute. And not basically how I physically look, but she was saying, the way I handle them and this and that I'm not, coming off as wild and aggressive and things of that sort. And basically, that's what I'm saying. You come at them in your intelligent tone and you're going to get your favorite reply. And she's seen that, so many times that she doesn't get as nervous anymore, even though with all that goes on in the world, our people can't help but to be nervous sometimes. Now, my biggest problem is I be thinking strategy, what I need to do next, instead of cut the camera on. Because it's been several times that I did have an opportunity to teach had I had the camera on, but that's not my mindset. I'm like, look, I got to get out of this situation to get home. So I haven't been able to record any of them, but I am going to interview a brother that was with me real soon. And this was the first time I got stopped out here when I moved to this new county in Houston. So this brother is a Moor, but he's not really deep into the science. So I don't think he had been through that type of experience before. I don't think he had ever been through a stop that was that short. So I'm going to ask him all this, and basically get his perspective and bring it to the people so everyone can see, along with a few other people that I have coming up that I'm trying to get to give their experience to, because I know Moors from all over the country that have dealt with these policy enforcers and have, amazing ways of how they deal with them that It's like if I could get them on camera, it would really help. But people like to be private, and I understand that. And some stuff doesn't need to be brought into the public. Some stories I would never ask people to bring into the public. So, you know, with that, you know, I'll be getting back to y'all real soon with a couple interviews, hopefully, of other people giving their experiences on right to travel, and maybe even giving some other tips and pointers for some very sharp moors that do this well as well. Peace and love, family.